Comes the Megaplex here in Maitland, Florida, but we call it Orlando because, well, frankly, it sounds better. And people are like, where the heck's Maitland? Well, it's true. Am I lying? It's true. All right. We all know that. So anyway, this is behind the scenes of the BaaD radio show, BaaD, Business at a Distance. And we're getting ready to kick everything off. So shh, quiet on the set. All right. Here we go.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You're now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the news radio WFLA Orlando studios for a full 2 hours from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's a little bit of a mouthful. I get that little tongue-tied a little bit. News Radio WFLA Orlando.
Try it like this. News Radio WFLA Orlando.
I'm just going to have you say it for me, Melissa. I am your host, Angela Smarito, and in studio with me, we have our producer who you hear right now, Miss Melissa Fox.
That's me.
Mm-hmm. And next to me, we have our co-host and videographer, Melissa Jacob with Striking Brand.
Hello.
If you go to baadradio.com, you can see all of the previous episodes of BaaD Radio on YouTube. Melissa's been doing the videos for over a year now, and so it's really, really, I did a little thing where I went back and I kind of watched some old videos, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
gosh.
Same.
I was like, wow, okay, we've gotten so much better.
Oh, thank goodness.
Always improving.
But you can also see the rest of Melissa's work at strikingbrand.com. We have a very special show for you today because right now we have two powerhouse attorneys in studio. And to be honest with you, what makes them powerhouses is that they're boss babes. So please welcome Jen Andrews.
Hello.
With Andrews Law PA and Brooke Boltz with Boltz Legal.
Hi there.
Super good to have you guys. I've had you both in studio with me before, but not at the same time. So it's very cool. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Frogger's Bar and Grill, hopping with food and fun. If you're looking for a place to go with friends or meet new ones, you have to go to Frogger's. 4 locations, tons of TVs, and the best food that you can imagine. The food is always fresh, never frozen. You can check out their menu at froggers.com with locations in Mount Dora, Oviedo, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. All right, so normally we would do the networking news right now, but we have a caller on the line, and this is, so what we're going to do is we're going to circle back around to that. So we have the president of the Florida Justice Association, Curry Pagic, on the line. I'm going to let Jen introduce him.
Hello, I'd like to introduce Curry Pagic. Mr. Pagic is the current president of the Florida Justice Association, also known as the FJA. He's been a member of the FJA for over 25 years. The FJA is dedicated to strengthening and upholding Florida's civil justice system and protecting the rights of citizens and consumers. Fighting for equality and justice has been at the core of everything Mr. Pagic has done throughout his legal career. How are you doing today, Mr. Pagic?
Doing well, thank you.
So are we calling you Curry or are we calling you Mr. Pagic?
Curry is good.
Okay, I like Curry better.
I like Curry.
I like to be on first name basis. All right, well, thank you for taking the time to call in today. And a lot of the reason why we are having you on today is talk to us about what is happening. I'm going to say it wrong. I know it's House Bill 837. Did I get it right?
You got it.
All right, I'm on this.
Nailed it.
Can you give us a rundown, Curry, about what's happening with the House Bill 837?
Yes, thank you, ladies, for having me on, and hello to everybody out there who's listening. What you need to know is that this is a rights-grabbing bill. This is a bill that is a dream bill of the globalist insurance industries and corporate elites that are coming into Florida to take your rights away, to take away your rights, to hold others accountable and responsible when they harm you or your family. That's what it boils all down to. The insurance companies, these out-of-state insurance companies who come into our state, who take our money and our premiums and want to walk back to New York or Chicago or fly back in their private jets and take their profits with them and not do the right thing by Floridians who pay for insurance and expect them to protect them. So that is the broad overview of the bill. It's House Bill 837. And the first hearing is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And there are 5 primary elements to the bill, but, I don't want to bore anyone with legal jargon. No one likes to hear that crap. Neither do I. But I'm happy to tell you the overviews and what it, in fact, does to businesses and to families in Florida.
Okay. I would like to initially start by saying, where did this come from, and why is this even a topic right now?
So in Florida, we have a legislature that is supposed to draft laws for the people. And we have 140 legislators in the House of Representatives, and 40 senators in the Senate. And that House and the Senate do the people's business. And that's what they're in the process of doing right now. House Bill 837 is, frankly, an insurance company wish list, to the corporate elite's wish list. It's stuff they've been trying to do for decades, all thrown into one. Now, we're not saying any particular legislator at all believes in all of it, but when an industry tries to take everything, they start at the extreme. And what this will do is take people's rights away. And that's the fundamental foundation of everything we need to defend here in our state.
Okay. So I do want to get to a little bit of the legal jargon of it. But again, what's really important to the listeners right now is that they understand it from a layman's terms. So as you're explaining these, if you could kind of explain it the way that you want it explained, but then also the way that I'm going to understand it, that would really appreciate
Tear it down.
that.
Sure. Well, there are 5 fundamental elements, and I'll start with one that would probably make the most sense to everyone. It is medical damages. When a car crashes into you, or when a drunk crashes into your daughter, let's say, your daughter's parked at a stoplight, and she's waiting at the stoplight, and the drunk comes along and rear ends her 100 miles an hour, and your daughter suffers catastrophic injuries. The law today in Florida is that whoever causes the harm pays for the harm. Is an accountability and responsibility-based system, which we all agree with. And in Florida, we value life. That child who is hurt through no fault of her own deserves the very best medical care.
Agreed.
To get as good as she can. That is what your daughter and my daughter deserve. This and current law today is that the defendant who caused the harm must pay that bill in total, not anything more, not anything less. And the jury makes that decision.
I also have an 18-year-old daughter, so you're hitting very, very hard at home right now.
There you go. Well, let me tell you what's going to happen if this bill passes.
Okay.
This bill states that if your child is rear-ended by the drunk going 100 miles an hour, the medical damages are limited, capped, by the government telling you the value of your child's medical bills and medical care and how much you can spend on your child. It is a big government solution to a free market issue. It is big government coming down and saying you can only recover X.
And where do they get these dollars from? I mean, is it a formula? Or, I mean, I need to understand. So they obviously are putting a cap on it, but where are they getting these numbers from?
Here's the X. They want to be able to limit your daughter's medical bills to either A, Medicare if she's on Medicare, B, whatever the rate the health insurance would pay if she's on health insurance, or C, if she's doesn't have private health insurance, or if she does not have Medicare, then 140% of Medicaid. What does that mean? Well, number one, if you like socialized medicine, you'll like this bill. If you like institutional care, you'll like this bill. If you want your daughter to have the very best care, she's been rear-ended and she's paralyzed, you want your daughter to go to Mayo to get the best care, then go to Shepherd Center in Atlanta, who has the best spine care. This will cost you $1 million to get the best care. Blue Cross Blue Shield's rate of reimbursement, which may not cover either one, it's going to be about $140,000. So what happens if this bill passes?
Actually, you know what, Curry? You know what? I want you to hold that thought because we have to take a commercial break and we're gonna be right back. And I want everybody to stay tuned to the other side of this break so where we can pick right that up. So hold that thought. Okay, we'll be right back.
That's what we call a cliffhanger. Hang on, Curry. That's a cliffhanger. Oh, no. What will happen on the other side of this commercial break? Let's find out. You're listening to BaaD Radio on News Radio WFLA, Orlando.
Can Curry hear me right now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we're not taking a full break. I just have to do that I didn't really get a chance to talk to you before we got on the air. But.
Just enough time for me to handle the business.
Okay. So I
right.
want you to hold that thought. And like I said, we have 10-minute segments here, okay? So that's...
Okay, 2 seconds. All right, just enough for me to go ahead and clean things up and then start another recording. So that's all.
I need to do my live. Ooh, sorry.
What? You didn't hit us live?
I forgot about my endorsements.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you did. Uh-oh. All right. We should probably do that then, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
All right. Does anyone else have ADHD and can remember things, or not have ADHD and can remember things on the inside
I've
of
been
the
in
break?
radio too long. I live with ADHD.
Yeah, I know. It actually happens. We give it to people.
Contagious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very much so, yes. All right. Stand by. Whoops, wrong one. I'm all right. You did it again, Mel. What's going on? Oh, there it is.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And we are back. This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. Cut out the middleman and go straight to the source. Premier Couple Superstore has everything from sexy bedroom outfits, toys, games, love oils, and everything in between. Premier Couple Superstore, because couples that play together stay together. All right, did you get that, Curry? Did you get that endorsement? That's a good one, right? We'll go right back into this topic. All right. Well, sorry, we did have to go to break, but I really want to jump back into exactly what you were saying before we had to break. So please continue.
So let's say you're taking your daughter to get the very best medical care that she deserves.
Mm-hmm.
And that son of a biscuit eater who rear-ended her, he should pay for it, not a nickel less. So if this bill passes, you have $1 million medical bill in the past. This bill would say that the jury can only return a verdict by a government-imposed cap of either, if she had health insurance at the time, only what health insurance would have paid.
Right.
If she doesn't have health insurance and she has Medicare, if she doesn't have either one, let's say like she's a college kid with no health insurance, she is limited to 140% of Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in. 140% of Medicaid. That is institutional care. And you're left holding the bag. And the drunk driver who caused that harm, who should pay it, walks away. And the insurance company for that drunk driver goes flying back to New York or Chicago in their private jet, laughing all the way to the bank because they weren't held accountable and responsible for what their drunk driver did.
All right,
Now,
so you've got my blood boiling here. And so what we're talking about is House Bill 837. And so far, I'm pretty upset. So we're just on number one. Is this correct?
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. And let's all drop back to the fundamental right that our country is based upon. In 1776, our country revolted from King George III. In the Declaration of Independence, if you read it, one of the enumerated reasons we revolted from King George III is he had taken away our rights to trial by jury. Not trial by king, not trial by government, not trial by the king's judges, trial by jury. And our forefathers fought, bled, and died for that right. And we became a country. But our forefathers knew that the rich and the powerful, like the king, would try to take this right from us again. So they created what is known as the Bill of Rights. You've heard of it. It's the top 10. First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. The government can never tell you what God to worship or what speech to use. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. The government cannot take away our arms. Fifth Amendment, I plead the rest.
Yes.
The Seventh Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees the right to trial by jury in civil cases. Not trial by judge, not trial by king, not trial by government telling you the value of the damages of your child's medical care, but trial by jury. This bill is a fundamental violation of the constitutional right that we have to trial by jury, not by government. It would take out of the jury's hands the value of medical care, and give it to the government to tell you what that child's medical care is worth, what rights will they take from us next? Insurance companies don't like to pay bills. You know what they also don't like? They don't like guns. Why? Guns result in claims. What rights will they take from us next if we let them start here? This is a fundamental right. It is top 10. It is the Bill of Rights. And there is no stepchild in the Bill of Rights. It is a fundamental violation of everything we stand for as a country and the nation. So, future medicals, may I go there?
Yes, please.
Future medicals are capped for the rest of that child's life at 140% of Medicaid if she doesn't have insurance.
But wait, for this specific injury, I mean, what's to say that it's not another, like, long term, like, she got into an accident, she got back damage, and then, 10 years down the road, she has a disc problem. So we're saying that that's limiting 10 years down the road?
Any and all future medical care that the jury can put into their verdict to take care of your child because of that drunk driver rear-ending them. Any and all future medical care that your doctors testify your child will need for the rest of their life. To say the child's paralyzed, they're going to need nursing care, they're going to need home attendant care, they're going to need nutrition care, they're going to need injections, they're going to need doctor's visits, x-rays, MRIs. The jury in this bill would not be able to say the true value of that care, the best care your child deserves. It would be limited to 140% of Medicaid.
All right.
That is institutional care. Now, let me ask you a question. Institutional care. Can you see the hallway? We've all been there. The cinder block lined hallway with peeling green paint. Can you smell the smell?
I meant your bill.
That is institutional care. That is what this bill would limit our children to if allowed to pass.
It's very dramatic. And I also want to just reiterate, currently right now we're talking to the president of the Florida Justice Association, Curry Padgett. And so, like I said, I just want, if anybody's just tuning in right now, I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So, like I said, please continue. I'm not interested in my daughter having institutionalized medicine.
And capped.
Yeah,
no. Capped amount of care.
These are wrong. It's a violation of the right to trial by jury. Now, it's not only the United States Constitution. Let's talk about the protection of our rights against insurance companies coming in here and taking them away from us. In Florida, we have a constitution. Every constitution in the state of Florida since 1830, our current constitution, the 1968 Constitution, has guaranteed the right to trial by jury. Why did our Florida founding fathers do that? Because they were afraid the feds might try to take that right from us. So we put suspenders on that belt in Florida. So the rich and the powerful could not take this right from us. In Florida, Article 1, Section 21 states that the courts shall remain open for redress of any injury. Article 1, Section 22 states the right to trial by jury shall remain inviolate. Now, I'm a country boy from Jacksonville, and inviolate sounds like a fancy word, so let me tell you what that means.
Thank you.
It means you shall not violate this right. You shall not violate my daughter. You shall not violate my wife. You shall not violate our right to trial by jury. And where do we draw the line? It takes our legislators who are sworn to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Florida. So we call upon all legislators who believe in our Constitution to defend our rights and don't let big insurance and corporate elites come to our state and take them away. And that's just the first piece of this bill, ladies.
All right. Well,
that's just the first piece.
That's extremely disturbing. I think that we probably have about 2 minutes before we have to go to break. So what would be the next step right now? I mean, the next phase of this bill?
Well, the next one is called bad faith deform. Bad faith. In Florida, insurance companies have a duty of good faith to you. They want to be able to commit bad faith. That is the next phase of this bill. So number one, they don't have to pay all the medical bills. Number two, they want to be able to treat you with what is known as bad faith. Let me explain it to you this way. You have an insurance policy. Let's say you got a $100,000 policy. And that's what you bought just in case something happened,
Right.
just to protect yourself. And you pay the insurance company to protect you just in case something happens. Then you have, say, State Farm, and your husband's driving down the road and he spills coffee in his lap. Natural reaction, you try to get the coffee off your lap. He jumps the curb, goes up on the sidewalk, and hits Billy walking to school. He didn't mean to do it, but it's his fault. He's responsible and accountable for the harm he caused, and this is exactly why we bought insurance, to protect ourselves. In Florida, the law since the early 1900s has been that the insurance company has a duty of good faith to protect you just in case an accident happens. That right, it requires the insurance company defend you and settle the case if they can and should in the exercise of good faith and fair dealing for you. Billy's paralyzed. Billy's mom calls State Farm and says, "We know your husband didn't mean to do this. That's why we have insurance. State Farm, pay the $100,000, and we will settle all claims against you and your husband."
I have lots of
This might be a
questions
good
about
time
this.
for a break.
Yeah, that's what that music is. So hold that thought, and when we get back, we are just going to jump right back into that.
You're listening to BaaD Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
All right, so when we get back, I'm going to remember to reintroduce him and reintroduce the bill that we're discussing. Thank you. Thank you for your points, Melissa. I appreciate it.
It's okay. Do not thank me. This is what I do. Seriously, yeah, no problem. That's one of the first things I always learned in radio, though, is that people tune in. They don't catch it always from the beginning. And so it's always a good thing to reintroduce your guest or the topic, without just jumping right back in, because a lot of people wouldn't know.
So, Curry, how are you on time, sir? Is he there?
Yeah, he's there. I'm sorry.
Huh?
Yes,
So
I'm
can
fine.
we? Do we have the other caller on the line?
Yes, we do.
All right. So
If you want to you can have Matt hold. We can
okay,
hold.
Matt can hold.
Let's
Okay.
use-
Yeah, he's.
So I'm
he's
gonna
fine.
I want to
Fine
keep
as
Carrie
best we
on.
can. Yes.
I want for at least the next 10 full minutes, if that's okay.
I think he can actually hear you. You want to?
But Curry, whatever you
Yes,
have
I
the
hear it.
time for, we'll take it.
So you're going to hang on to hold. Curry, you stay right there, and your other guest is on hold. I'm going to put you back off.
Okay.
There we go. But yeah, first 2 seconds I let him talk, and then I was like, nah, that's enough.
All
Just
right.
kidding, sir.
So, Curry, when we get back, I'm going to do my sponsorship read, and then I'm going to reintroduce you, okay?
Very good.
Okay.
Okay, just doing my radio thing here. All right, segment 3. Stand by.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And welcome back. This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Impact Electric of Orlando, who focuses on residential and commercial electrical work. When talking about the quality of work, Impact Electric is one of the best. We use Impact Electric of Orlando for all of our electrical needs, and I would recommend them to anyone. You can reach Zach and his team at 407-747-0874. And so before we went to break, we were speaking with the president of the Florida Justice Association, Curry Pagic, and we would like to continue right back where we left off. So, Curry, please, if we said hold that thought, now we're ready for you to run with it.
Very good. So we're talking about the rights-grabbing bill proposed by the insurance industry in the Florida legislature. We talked about the suggested government-imposed caps on the value of medical care that your child should get. Now we're discussing the insurance industry's request to be able to act in bad faith. And we're talking about Billy, who's just been run over by your husband.
Right.
That's why we bought insurance. Your husband, my wife, has accidentally spilled coffee in their lap. They've run off the side of the road and hit Billy, who's walking to school, and Billy's now paralyzed. What do we expect our insurance company to do? We expect them to protect us, correct? That is what Florida law requires today. It requires a duty of good faith on the insurance company to settle the case if they can and should within the policy limits. Let us suppose we have $100,000 in coverage with our State Farm policy. Billy's mom calls State Farm and says, "We know Miss Jones didn't mean to do this. And that's why we have insurance, just in case an accident happens. State Farm, if you pay me the $100,000, we will release Mr. Jones from all claims. You, being Miss Jones, thinks, heck yeah, good idea. Settle the case. I don't want my pension. I don't want my savings. I don't want my home and my car and everything to be put at risk. That's why I bought insurance, to protect me in case something happens. This bill, if passed, would allow the insurance company to say, you know what, Billy's mom, we'll pay you $90,000. Billy's mom says, Billy's paralyzed. I'm not going to take less than the policy limits. Fine. She goes, hires a lawyer. It goes to trial. The jury determines that paralyzed Billy's medical bills and damages are over $10 million. At the end of that case, how do you feel? State Farm had a chance to settle it for $100,000.
But they wanted to
the
save
dice.
$10,000, and they ended up okay.
They rolled the dice, and you have a $10 million judgment against you. How do you feel? You are angry. The insurance company has just put the screw to me. They have exposed me to $9,900,000 in damages. Today in Florida, the way the law currently stands, you can sue State Farm for exposing you to that excess judgment because they failed to act in good faith. If this bill, as currently proposed, passes, you would be on the hook for $9,900,000, and State Farm would get on a private jet and fly back to Illinois with all the profits and wipe their hands. That's wrong. This is a law that's been on the books for nearly 100 years, passed by a Florida Supreme Court in 1920s and 30s. It wasn't exactly a bunch of flaming liberals on the Supreme Court. These were old white men who were ex-railroad defense lawyers who said, we don't want insurance companies coming to our state and taking advantage of people and exposing them to excess judgments. So we're going to create a duty of good faith. And if the insurance company screws it up and exposes Floridians to excess judgments, it is their responsibility. If this bill passes, it takes away your right
So
to hold insurance companies accountable.
What I can't understand is how, this sounds so obvious to me, and I know it sounds obvious to the other ladies in this room. How can something like this even be considered? I have to understand, because right now I don't. It doesn't seem like it's even a logical thing that would even be considered.
It's an insurance company wish list. What are insurance companies in the business of?
Making money.
How many advertisements do you see for Flo and Gecko and Jake from State Farm? You know, my firm doesn't advertise, but I'm going to guess it's a lot more than even the personal injury advertisers. They're in it to make money, and they're your good neighbor until you need them.
Yes.
And when you need them, the open hands turn into fists. They're in it to make money, and that is their job. But who do you want them accountable to? Their stockholders in Illinois, or to you, the citizen of Florida? So this is a beginning phase, House Bill 837. We're hopeful that our legislators will make appropriate revisions as a starting point, but it's going to take all of us, calling our legislators and letting them know that we must protect our rights against these globalist, out-of-state ESG insurance companies who are coming into Florida and trying to take our rights away.
All right. Well, tell us what we need to do. What can we do? That's really what it boils down to.
Calling our legislators, how can we find that out, to make it easier for guests or for listeners?
The vast majority of our legislature believes in the Constitution and believes in the right to trial by jury. They have so many bills being filed, they're not sure what's in this bill. We, the responsible citizen in our great republic, contact our legislators, contact our senators. Don't let them take our rights away. Don't let these out-of-state insurance companies come in here and take our rights away, because once they take one of our rights, they're not going to stop. Once you feed the beast, they're going to come for more, and what rights will they grab from us next?
Talk to me about time frame.
Time frame, first hearing, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning,
okay.
February 24th.
And what does that mean?
That is the first hearing.
The first hearing tomorrow is going to determine what?
It is the first step in a process of the legislature hearing public comment hearing from doctors who are affected by this, victims who are affected by this. There are other parts to this bill, folks. It eliminates your ability to sue your insurance company and get attorney's fees. It's elimination of what's called 627.428. That's the last fancy term I'll use. It's a statute that makes the insurance company pay your attorney's fees if they wrongfully deny your insurance benefits. Like, let's say life insurance. Life insurance, you have a $100,000 life insurance policy, you die, your husband says, all right, Prudential, pay me the $100,000 life insurance policy. Today in Florida, if they wrongfully deny, let's say they offer $90,000, you're like, hey, my husband paid
Right.
premiums for years for this. Pay me the whole $100,000. They say, sue me. Today, if they say sue me, they have to pay your attorney's fees on top of that $100,000 life insurance your husband paid for 40 years. If this bill passes, if House Bill 837 passes as is, the insurance company will say, here's $90,000, sue me. And guess who has to pay your lawyer? You, out of whatever money you get from that policy your husband bought.
And so people are just basically, they're going to take that
policy,
90,000 and they're not going to hire an attorney. So insurance companies win. This is so frustrating. Oh my gosh.
That's exactly right. It's time for the citizens to make their voices heard by the legislators before they return to Tallahassee. Tomorrow they have the first hearing. Next week they're at home in their districts.
Okay.
In Orlando, Dade County, Duval County, Osceola County, Seminole County, whoever's out there, Lake County. They need to call and go see the legislators and say, listen, we're concerned about this bill. It's going to take our rights away. And allow insurance companies to take advantage of us and run roughshod over us. And
Right.
it's wrong. Don't let them take our rights away.
Right. Melissa, how are we on time now?
We should probably thank our guest, reiterate what bill we're talking about.
I'm being schooled here. Can you tell?
I'm sorry. Am I producing the show?
Fabulous.
Anyway, you got a minute.
Okay.
So that hearing is going to actually be already passed by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I
so-
meant what the live right now is being
Right.
seen, so we can share the hell out of that,
Right.
which is good. But okay.
And folks, let me explain this to you. Those are the only top 3 worst parts. There's another bad part, too.
Oh, goodness.
And I know we're out of time. Read the bill, know your rights, and stand up for them.
Well, we do have one more segment. If you're willing to hang on, when we come back, we can still talk about that if you're good.
I have time for one more segment.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I've got meetings.
No, I understand. I appreciate your time. So everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back after this break.
You're listening to BaaD Radio. Check out BaaDradio.com for more information on how you can be involved with business at a distance.
Well, that's going to go into a couple questions. So, I think the time might, think so much time.
No, I mean, like you said, we can combine these 2 hours. Like I said, this is all kind of one combo show,
Mhm.
So if he doesn't mind holding, I just feel bad.
Want to talk to him real quick? Because he's listening, he can hear you. So that's your other guest.
You can talk into the microphone and say hi. All right, so hang on.
He said that's your second guest. He's listening to you right now. If you want to say
Jen,
something.
talk to
good.
Matt.
I was just trying to text you, Matt.
Well, text me, I can hear you.
Matt?
Matt, sorry that it's taken so long to get you on. Do you have time to hold on another 10 minutes?
Or 5. Let's give him 5 if we can.
5 to 10
Okay.
minutes? If not, I understand.
I
I
don't have to
appreciate
be to
you
work
calling
until
in.
6.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
You're awesome, Matt.
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Going back to Curry, and we are ready to rock here. Are you ready for this? Mm-hmm. Good. Am I ready? Okay, we're all ready.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Live Your Best Life, an independent advocate for Green Compass USDA certified organic hemp products. They offer a complete range of products, including hemp wellness, targeted health, personal care, performance, even products for our furry friends. To get more information on these products or becoming a consultant, call Terry at 407-616-5655. 3145. And so we are very excited that we still are able to have Curry Pagic on the phone with us. He is the president of the Florida Justice Association. And so we're talking about Bill, or it's House Bill 387. And
837.
837, sorry. And so he did say that there is one more thing on that bill that we need to know about.
Okay. Thank you. And the final part of this bill, I think we need to all appreciate, is the attempt to move from pure comparative negligence to contributory negligence. What does that mean? Those are two fancy words. In Florida, the law today is and has been for more than 50 years that everybody eats their piece of the pie when there's a crash. You're responsible for your negligence and no one else's. Everybody is accountable and responsible for what they did and nothing else. But you do have to eat your piece of the pie. So if it's a 3-vehicle crash and the jury says everyone's 33% at fault and the verdict is for $100, you can't collect your $33 from anybody else because you're 33% at fault. You can only collect the $66, and that's fair. That is the law, and it is the law the way the law should be, accountability and responsibility. Now, the insurance industry bill, the rights-grabbing bill, wants to change that. They want to change Florida to what is known as a contributory negligence state, such that if a person is 51% at fault, they can collect nothing from anybody else. What does that mean? Let me give you an analogy. It's like you go to lunch with a friend. You and a friend have lunch. You order a salad. Your friend orders a hamburger. Your bill, as part of the tab comes for the total for the table. The amount of money for your salad is $19. The amount of money for your buddy's hamburger is $21. Under this bill, you can stand up and walk away and say, hey, buddy, you're responsible for the entire tab because I was less than 51% of that tab. That's wrong. Your buddy's like, you get your tail right back down here and you pay your fair share of the bill. This bill, if passed, this House Bill 837, would say that if the person is 51% at fault or more, they can collect nothing from anybody else. Let's say your daughter, we used this analogy earlier, your daughter stopped at a red light, drunk driver comes along at 100 miles an hour and rear ends her. What if your daughter had unbuckled momentarily to reach down underneath the passenger seat to get a folder? She's ejected through the windshield and lands face down on the road, and now she's paralyzed. What is the drunk driver's insurance company going to say? It's her fault. She wasn't wearing her seatbelt. We all knew whose fault it was. It was the drunk driver who rear-ended her.
Right.
And let's say the slick insurance defense lawyer convinces the jury that your daughter, well, she's only 51% at fault. The drunk driver's 49%. Split it up that way. What would happen is your daughter would recover zero. $10 million in medical bills instead of the person responsible for $4,999,000 paying his fair share. You know who ends up paying for that? The taxpayers, because she's going to be on Medicaid the rest of her life. It's going to be socialized medicine. And you and I, the taxpayer, are going to pick up that bill instead of the person who caused the harm. And that's wrong.
Yes, that is wrong.
That's the final part of this bill that is wrong. And again, remember who's behind it. The insurance industry and the corporate elites. The insurance industry wants to save money and leave us holding the bag. And this bill would allow them to go back up to New York and Chicago in their private jets with their bag full of money and leave Floridians holding the bag for those medical bills.
Right.
And it's wrong.
Well, let's see what we can do to stop that. Sir, thank you so much for taking the time to call in today. Jen is going to read the contact information so listeners know who to call. And again, I'm going to be sharing this on all of our social media platforms. And so again, thank you so much for calling in today.
You're welcome. God bless.
Thank you. All right. So Jen, go ahead and let everybody know what they can do to help.
So you can call your representative. So the Florida House of Representatives for Orange County, your representative is going to be Anna Escamani. Her phone number's 407-228-1451. for Seminole County, your representative is going to be, and you might want to Google who your representative is. If you're in Maitland, you're still Anna Escamani. If you're in Sanford, you're going to be Rachel Laura Sanders Plakin, and her phone number is 407-263-3931. These are their office phone numbers, not their personal phone numbers.
Right.
You might want to give, and also, and if you feel uncomfortable making a phone call, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
You can email them directly from the website. So you go to the website, that's myfloridahouse.gov, and then just type in the name of your representative. So type in Anna Escamani, that's Eskamani, and her page will pop up, and at the bottom of it, there's an email. That's already, all you have to do is put in your contact info and then put your message to her, and just ask her what's your stance on this new House Bill 837.
Yeah.
I hope that you're voting no on it.
Well, what I will do is I'll put a lot of the information that from the show in all of our social media stuff as well, and give them instructions on how to do that. So we have another caller on the line. So it is Matt, correct?
Matthew Loper.
Matthew, thank you so much for hanging tight. We appreciate that. So Jen, go ahead and introduce.
Matthew Loper is on the phone, and I represented Mr. Loper a few years back. How you doing today, Matt?
I'm doing very well. And yourself, Jennifer?
I am doing good. It's so good to hear from you.
So Matt is a client of Andrews Law PA, is that correct?
He's a previous client that I've represented in the past.
Okay.
So, Matt, can you tell us a little bit about the crash I represented you for and how it occurred and what happened?
Yeah, basically, I was on my way to work going to Universal Studios like I do every day. I got off the on-ramp from I-4, past Cabana Bay, which is by where all the resorts are, and I attempted to make a right-hand turn in a 2 right-hand turn lane scenario. And during that right-hand turn, the school bus, which then sideswiped me, pretty much turned my life upside down right before I went to work. And from that point on, I wound up being changed for the rest of my life. And it was considered a very minimal accident, nothing too out of the ordinary.
Well, I mean, it wasn't completely minimal. I saw your car, and your car did get lifted up in the air and slammed back down. We're not talking about a scratch on a bumper. It was a pretty excessive force.
But it's a perspective, right? I think that
I
the
suppose.
opposing insurance companies are going to say it's not too bad, or we've seen worse, or it's not that dramatic, correct? Am I right with how that's going to be positioned?
Absolutely, but I will say that I think it also goes to the perspective of the client as well. Matthew used to be a reserve firefighter, so he's kind of a tough guy from New York, New Jersey. Which one is it, Matt?
New York. I was an ex-volunteer fireman for about 5 years.
So sometimes when I see something and I hear about somebody's car that's hit by this huge school bus that's then lifted up on its side and slammed back down, and the tires scrape all the way across the car. Yeah. He's like, oh, well, I didn't, it wasn't a huge accident.
He said minimal.
Yeah, I know, right? But what happened, and Matt, I won't go into your injuries, but we can agree that they were pretty severe, correct?
Yeah, basically, I will go into it a little bit, but, I had some fractures in my lower back, and it took the doctors almost a full year to diagnose my problems. I racked up hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical debt, and it turned my life upside down.
Actually, Matt, that music means that we are going to be going to break, but hold that thought, because when we get back, I want to jump back into the story, because I believe what we're going here is we're going to talk about how relevant this bill could dramatically affect the outcome of your case. Is that correct?
It is.
All right, so we're going to talk about that. Stay tuned.
We'll check news, traffic, weather, and then we'll be back with hour number 2 of BaaD Radio.
All right, I do have Brooke. We have Stephen Bush calling in at 2, and I don't want to keep him on hold for too long. So what I want to do is I want to come back and complete the story, but then by then we should have Steven on the line. Are you all better though now, Matt? Are you how are you?
Just had another round of shots in my back just 2 weeks ago.
All right. Well, give me 1 minute.
I get cortisone shots in my back about every 4 months.
Oh, all right. Just, 1 second. You guys are actually waiting on me this time.
What? Oh, no one's waiting on you. This is all good.
I have to look pretty, damn it.
Yeah, but you also have to remember you don't have a lot of downtime in between these segments. So take a minute. You're doing fine.
All right. Let's go.
All right, you ready for hour number 2?
Yes.
Oh, she's mad at me for schooling her. I know. I get it. It's okay. You want me to tell you to reintroduce your guest?
Oh! I'm gonna get you, girl.
Oh, don't forget about your sponsors either.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, starting hour number 2. Okay, here we go.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
And welcome back as we launch into our second hour of BaaD Radio. I'm going to run through all the regular info for those of you who just might have joined us. I am Angela. I am your host, Angela Smarito. I am your host, and we've got our producer in the house that's liking to school me today, Miss Melissa Fox.
Hey, this is what I do for a living.
Our co-pilot and videographer, Melissa Jacob, is here.
Hello, hello.
And her business is called Striking Brand, and you can watch all of our BaaD Radio previous episodes on baadradio.com, but you can also find all of her other work at strikingbrand.com. And so before we went to break, we were in the middle of a story from one of our guests, Jennifer Andrew, who's a public a personal injury attorney. This is a court case that she has taken, and then one of her what is the applause for?
You got there.
Because you finally got there.
Thank you. Got a little tongue-tied. But we have Matthew here, and he was telling us a story about how House Bill 837, right, is going to be affecting what this outcome could have been. So I know I went around that the wrong way, but let's continue on with this story and how it's going to affect us.
All right, Matthew. So when we were speaking to you before, we were talking about an auto accident that you were involved in several years ago where a big school bus sideswiped you while you were on your way to work, correct?
Yes, Jennifer, that was correct.
All right. And we talked about your injuries and how it took a while for even the doctors to completely diagnose you with what your final injuries were, right?
That is also correct, Jennifer.
He's being very, very clinical now.
Like we're in the courtroom.
I know, he is. Like I'm cross-examining him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he had to do that. Matthew, you were asked a bunch of questions by attorneys that represent the insurance company, right?
Yes, I was actually interrogated for quite some time. Actually, if I recall, it was above the normal amount of time that a normal client would actually have to be cross-examined, or excuse me, not cross-examined, but have to be exposed to some of that.
Were they trying to discredit you?
Absolutely.
Oh, my gosh.
So in Matthew's case, well, let's jump to the end so everybody knows that it was a happy ending for you, Matthew. At the end of the case, were you able to get your medical bills paid and compensated for your injuries and pain and suffering?
Yes, I was able to get a sum of money, which was able to get me back on my feet. It was able to help me reduce all my credit card debt, the loans I had to take out. I would have had to actually go into bankruptcy if I wasn't able to receive the settlement. My life was turned upside down from the moment it happened, and it is still turned upside down. But now I'm able to negotiate things a lot differently, and I'm also able to get the proper medical care I need for the rest of my life.
Okay.
In Matthew's case, I mean, it's not a happy ending. I'm sure if Matthew could go back in time and he had a magic wand, he would just make sure that the crash never happened instead of having this settlement and now having these injuries for the rest of his life.
Here's the thing is I think that what people don't understand is they see the billboards and it's like so-and-so got me $1 million. But what they're not showing is the bottom half of that might be that gentleman might be holding a check for $1.4 million, but he might be missing part of his leg. This is not, we're not talking about like
winning the lottery.
Yes, it's not like that. So
well, it's not. And, you know, as Matthew was saying, he still is dealing with pain, but he was able to get, you know, money is the only way to compensate you. Your health is gone. There's nothing else you can do. So in the end, that was able to happen for him with this new bill, House Bill 837. What it's trying to accomplish is, one, if Matthew had gone to trial, you wouldn't have seen what his medical bills were. You would see what a health insurance company would pay for the bills, and not all doctors that work with auto accident cases take health insurance.
Okay.
If he didn't have health insurance, then it would be 140% of Medicare, which Curry Padgett was speaking about earlier. But the jury, this is the kicker, the jury would never know. The jury wouldn't know that his medical bills were hundreds of thousands of dollars. They wouldn't be able to see that. We wouldn't
and you
be
wouldn't
able
even,
to
as a trial attorney, you wouldn't be able to tell them that?
No, that's what this House bill is preventing. The jury's not going to see the actual amount that the patient, that the client owes. They're just going to see the amount that insurance company would have paid, and then that client is still on the hook.
Okay, so hold on. So he gets injured. The injuries are going to cost, let's just say, $1 million. The insurance company is going to say, this is worth $150,000. And then that's the only thing that he's going to get is $150,000, and he's on the hook for the rest of that brings up to $1 million.
Well, what this bill does is it prevents the plaintiff attorneys from telling the jury how much his medical bills actually were. It just allows it would only allow us to tell them a percentage of what health insurance would pay, which is very unfortunate because at the end of the day, the jury will come back. They award the amount of the medical bills that's been put up there that they've been presented with, but the client still owes another $100,000 that they don't even know about. The second thing in Matthew's case that I think it's important about House Bill 837 is this was a sideswipe. It's hard to prove a sideswipe. Even now, it's hard because the insurance company is going to say always with a sideswipe, oh, it wasn't our fault. Your client crashed into us. In Matthew's case, he was on his way to work. He was driving the same lane that he did every day. He knew his route. He didn't go into the other lane. The school bus driver did. But it took us years to be able to prove that to the insurance company with a lot of costly litigation. And also, Matthew had to be deposed several times. He had to answer written questions. It was, it wasn't a great experience. And that's without this new House Bill 837. This new House Bill 837, Matthew could have gotten 0.
Oh, my gosh.
So, it's a really big deal. And I would really encourage you guys to, like we spoke before, call your local representatives, Anna Escamana and Rachel Laura Sanders-Plakin. Thank you, Matthew, for joining us
Yes,
today.
thank you, Matthew, and thank you for waiting. And I'm really, really, really happy that you hired Attorney Jen Andrews because she's amazing. I know she is. I know my daughter was in an accident, and I called her on the phone, and she talked to me all the way to that accident, and she helped advise me, and it helped me so much. So, well, thank you for calling. All right, so we're going to change gears a little bit because we have another caller on the line. It is Attorney Stephen Bush. So when I say that we're going to be switching gears, so recent legislation has also changed. It not only affects the personal injury side of things, but it's affecting our house claims as well. So Stephen, do we have you on the line now?
I'm here.
Hi, Stephen. Thank you for calling, and we appreciate that you were able to get that worked out with your schedule. So we've got Attorney Brooke Boltz in studio with us, as well as Attorney Jen Andrews.
Hi, Stephen.
Hey, guys. How are you?
We had the pleasure of meeting Stephen yesterday, and the information that he has is invaluable. But what we're actually going to do right now, how are we, Melissa, on time? Because what I want to do is I want to maybe set things up and then go to break and then come back.
That sounds like a perfect plan.
Aha, I got it right. Look at that.
Yay.
I'm learning here. All right, so everybody hold on, and we're going to go to break, and when we get back, we are going to jump into what was that bill call again? I know I just
HB 837.
Nope, that's the PI one. This is a new one.
Another one?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
It is SB 2A. Is that right?
That's it. SB2A.
All right, we'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, you didn't even let me play music. Hold on, here we go. There we go. All right, you're listening to BaaD Radio with Angela Smarrito, Melissa Jacob, and our special guests, Jenny Andrews, and Brooke. I got it. All right, we'll be right back.
All right. Steven, we're not really going to break.
I mean, we did. We are, but it's not a real break.
All right. So the way this is going to work, when we get back, I'm going to do and reintroduce the show. I'm going to do a show sponsor, and then Steven, I'm going to reintroduce you, and we're going to start talking about SB2A. Okay?
All right, great.
All right.
Did I miss that? I'm sorry.
What's that?
The SB2A.
No, I didn't tell you. Are you taking off or are you going to stay?
Does she need to leave?
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I got to walk her out. So let me set this up, and then I'll come and meet her halfway. All right, stand by.
Okay. Thank you, Jen.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And welcome back. This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. Are your roots needing a touch-up? Well, not your hair, but how about your grass? At Ground Up Property Services, we can help make sure your grass roots are doing well underground and give your lawn that just stepped out of the salon look. With the Ground Up Property Services lawn painting service. And I think on the previous episode, Melissa actually put up some of the before and afters.
Yeah, my editor threw those in there. They looked really good.
Yeah, they look amazing. So you can reach Rick Hall and Ground Up Property Services at 407-468-4295. All right, so we are back live here, and we have attorney Stephen Bush on the line, and we also have attorney Brooke Boltz in here. And we're going to talk about a different House bill, and this House bill actually affects homeowners' claims. Senate bill, sorry.
Spoiler alert, we're not going to like it.
I know. Well, that's kind of like the ongoing thing here.
The theme for today.
I feel like Florida residents and Florida homeowners are under attack, and all I want to do is figure out what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we're here today. So Brooke introduced me to Stephen, and then Stephen and I had a chance to talk today. So, Stephen, can you give us a brief overview about this Senate bill and what it means to Florida homeowners?
Well, Senate Bill 2A did a lot, actually. It basically took away policyholders' rights to have representation because it took away the right to attorney's fees. There was a long-standing Florida law that if a policyholder was forced to file a lawsuit against an insurance carrier, and if the policyholder won during the lawsuit, then the insurance carrier owed that policyholder's attorney's fees and costs for bringing the action. The original bill was designed to discourage insurance companies from bad behavior. That was why it was originally put into place. That's now gone. So now policyholders have to pay all of their attorney fees and all of their expenses for litigation. And what this has done is it has put policyholders now in a position, if your claim is not more than $100,000, you're not going to be able to find representation. Now you say, well, why? Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Number one, the time that it takes to litigate these cases. Anything less than that, 1/3 of that money is not enough for an attorney. It just isn't worth it for the attorney's time. That's number one.
Right.
Secondly, And we can get more specific about that because I work in states where there are no attorney fee statutes, and I can tell you now that the insurance companies have instructed their defense attorneys to litigate the claim to death to discourage attorneys from taking smaller cases. All right, so they kill you with time is what they do. They take 9 or 10 depositions, which they don't need. They put you through motion practice, which they don't need. Then they take you to mediation, all to offer you $5,000 and walk away. I mean, that's very typical in those states, and that's what's going to wind up happening here. Secondly, the expenses to litigate a case. In Florida, a property insurance claim, when you bring an action for a property insurance claim in Florida, the plaintiff, in other words, the policyholder, has a duty to prove that loss. In many instances, how do you prove that loss? You have to do it with engineers, which means you have to spend $1,200, $3,000. If you ever have a commercial property, you could spend as much as I have one commercial property where we spent $150,000 on engineers.
Okay, when you say engineers, are you talking about like I said, I'm going to ask some questions here so that I truly understand. So when you say engineers, are you talking about like a public adjuster, somebody that's trained to come in and assess that damage, and then you take that information and you submit it to the insurance company?
No.
Okay.
Not a public adjuster.
Okay.
We're not talking about public adjusters. We're only talking about litigation right now.
Okay.
And now I was a public adjuster. I was a public adjuster for 12 years before I became an attorney.
Okay.
I love public adjusters, and I definitely believe that public adjusters have their place in the industry and are desperately needed. And by the way, they're under attack. So, but to litigate a case and prove a case in the state of Florida with the burdens of proof that's been placed upon the plaintiff, it's expensive.
Right.
It costs money. And now the policyholders have to bear that burden. So they are just left with no voice, is the way I like to say it. This bill silenced the voice that policyholders in Florida have for claims less than $100,000.
So, and most roofs are
Why?
about $20,000. Is that correct?
Probably in Florida, they're probably more around the 30, 40, 50 range, I would say.
So still less than the
still less than
amount,
100,000.
though.
Yes.
A lot less than the 100,000. And if the client if the insurance company pays, let's say $5,000, so they accept liability and they pay $5,000, you got a $40,000 roof. Now we have a $35,000 difference.
Right.
In dispute. That's still not enough.
No, I mean the average household is what, $66,000 a year, and you're trying to ask them to spend $35,000 on the roof. It's not going to happen. It's just not.
Well, and before that, they put the bill in that if your roof is 10 years old or 15 years old, you have to have it replaced now, or they don't get insurance. So, I mean, it's just been one law after the other that is attacking Florida policyholders, and as this thing continues to play out, right, it's not going to play out today, not going to play out this year, maybe even next year, but the next 4 to 5 years, when these guys are already gone and everybody's forgotten about it, they're going to be waking up one day saying, hey, what's happened? How did we get in this position? Well, we got into this position because these lawmakers are not considering policyholders.
Right. I could go really deep into that, but
yeah. So and so can I.
I know.
But I do want to say this. I talked to Representative Rommel. He was kind enough to talk to me, and he did tell me that we do have an insurance crisis. It's surrounded by or centered around the reinsurers, and the reinsurers are putting the pressure on the legislature to do some insurance reform.
Okay.
I got all that. But is there not a way to do insurance reform without putting it on the backs of the policyholders? Isn't there ways to do things? Taking away the attorney fee statute. I, myself, sat down one night over a nice glass of bourbon, and I wrote down 4 alternatives that would work and could have been implemented into law, instead of just taking away policyholders' rights to representation. None of that was considered. Why are these legislatures not considering alternatives? But I've got a better question for you. Why are they not talking to plaintiffs' attorneys? Why aren't there? I've invited them to my office. Come to my office and sit down. Or better yet, I'll bring my files to you. Nobody wants to see anything. Nobody wants to hear anything from the policyholder's side. The only one they're listening to is the insurance companies.
I want to talk
And you have
about
to
that
ask
for
why.
sure. Yes, I do. I want to know the answer to these questions, but I don't know if there is an actual answer. But Stephen, are you able to stay on the line for one more segment, because we are coming up to a break, and I want to continue this conversation, and I also want to talk a little bit about the videos that you put together.
Sure.
Okay, he's just like, sure. All right, so you guys hang tight, because we're going to be right back with attorney Stephen Bush.
Wow, I messed that up. There we go. You're listening to BaaD Radio. Check out BaaD radio.com for your networking opportunities. You're listening to News Radio WFLA, Orlando.
All right.
Yeah, you went on really early. So you actually have a...
I thought I saw you give me the 1 minute mark.
That was...
It's
okay.
Just do it over the headphones. Okay.
You're right with that? Because
Yeah.
I felt like I was impeding on your...
No. I thought you held up 2 fingers. I saw one through that glass. So.
Dang it! All right.
I want that minute back, though.
Yeah, you're getting that minute back. As a matter of fact, you have like a minute and a half, actually.
All right.
Extra. So I'll meet that up. I always make it up. Trust me.
Thank you.
Always make sure you guys get what you need. That's why I am the brokerage show guru for you. True story. Anyway, a lesser person. Yeah, I owe you a little under a minute and a half.
All right.
Okay, so let's write. This one goes to 11.
Thank you.
Anyone? No? No Spinal Tap references in the house?
Sorry.
I have a feeling Brooke knew it and just didn't want to say anything.
I don't know Spinal Tap.
Oh, man, we're going to have a weekend. All right, stand by.
Movie night.
Movie night. Wait a minute. Do you know it, Stephen?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Just checking. Okay.
You're invited.
Okay. We'll all come together.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Rachel Roach, Realtor, a Coldwell Banker Realtor. In a sea of realtors out there, choose the one that thinks about you first and not their commission. You can reach Rachel at 407-252-4566. And before we went to break, we were talking with attorney Stephen Bush, and we also have attorney Brooke Boltz in studio with us. And we are talking about SB2A. And so, Stephen, actually, could you do us a quick favor and just give a quick overview for our listeners what that is? And then I want to jump back into the conversation we had before we went to break.
Sure. SB2A was a bill that was passed in January, which affects insurance reform in the state of Florida.
Okay. All right.
Property insurance.
Property insurance.
Yeah, that's the broad view.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Brooke? Do you have anything that you want to put in there? I mean, I know that Brooke feels very passionate about this, and I think that she has a lot to feel passionate about. But I mean, in just regular people's terms, what would you say this is really? How would you describe this?
I agree with everything that Stephen said. There was a number of elements to SB2A, but the most significant one is the elimination of the policyholder's right to attorney's fees. What it really does is puts a policyholder in a position where they can never be made whole if they have to retain counsel to represent them against the insurance company. So, insurance is intended to put you back in your pre-loss condition, to put your home back in the condition it was before you suffered a loss. And now, by the passage of this bill, that can never happen for a homeowner who has to seek legal counsel. And that's because the attorney has to be paid out of the same repair money that is intended to be used for the home. Mm-hmm. So if there is a $50,000 roof and the attorney takes a third of that, now the homeowner, and there'll be costs and expenses on top of that. So homeowners are going to be lucky to be getting 50% of what they need to fix their home. And so what it also does is incentivizes the insurance companies to delay the claims longer in litigation, because now the amount they're paying out of pocket is the same in the beginning of the case or 2 or 3 years later, because they don't have to pay those attorney's fees that would be racking up over the course of time. Now, a $50,000 roof is the same today as it is 2 or 3 years from now. So it's not costing them any more money to delay the case for an extensive period of time.
Right. Well, the reoccurring theme I keep hearing here is insurance companies are bad. And there's a lot of fraud that's going on, and there's a lot of things that are happening that are really, really hurting Florida residents and Florida homeowners. And Stephen, I know that you have actually put together some videos, and we got to watch some of them yesterday, talking about this particular, the fraud that's going on. Please tell us a little bit about your videos and how we can find them, and what led you to put them together.
Okay, you can probably find them. I think they're under the Hurricane Ian show on YouTube. TJ Ware assisted me with putting these together. I do a lot of speaking events across the country, and at some speaking events, some of the insurance company adjusters that I've been dealing with recently saw me at those events. They were working right after Hurricane Ian. They began working Hurricane Ian, and about a month and a half, 2 months after Ian, they started to see some patterns of bad behavior by insurance companies.
Okay.
And their third-party representatives. And so what was happening is the adjusters are going to the property, meeting with the homeowners. They're writing up the full scope of damages of what they see as damage, talking to the homeowners. Then they're submitting those reports, and those reports usually is a scope, photographs, and then any notes that they were taking in relation to the loss, sending them back to the third-party administrator, and the third-party administrator onto the insurance company. Mm-hmm. But what they started noticing was their scopes of work, their estimates were being changed without their knowledge, and they were being reduced, and line items that they had placed in for replacement were either being completely stricken from those estimates, or they were being changed and lowered drastically from those estimates. And then the carriers were leaving their names on those estimates and submitting them to the insurance companies as though, to the policyholders as though they were their estimates.
So if
they actually had found.
So for Hurricane Ian, my house got damaged. I called my insurance company. They send somebody out. That person does an assessment on the house. We talk about it. I see them taking pictures of the damage to my house. I see all of it, right? And then they take that information, and then I feel pretty good. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a fair...
They're going to take care of me.
They're going to take care of me. I feel those warm fuzzies. Mm-hmm. And then I get the report back that says it's maybe 25% of what the actual money is that I need in order to repair my home. And on top of that, I see that the pictures that adjuster took are not included in the report. Is that all correct?
That's right. And some of the damages that he said he was going to write for is not in that report.
And so why, I'm going to ask a really obvious question here. Why is that happening? Why did that happen?
They don't want to pay. It's just that simple. They don't want to pay you what they owe you. But here's the sad part. Here's what's really awful. Policyholders have no clue. They don't know what's going on. They don't understand that they were originally, the adjuster that was sent out by the insurance company was going to fully indemnify them, make sure they were taken care of.
Right.
But the insurance company decided, no, we're not going to do it. And then they submit that back to the policyholder, and the policyholder has no idea what was going on the whole time. They don't know. And, what other industry do you know of? Now think about this. Think about it this way. What other industry do you know of where you can contract for something, but the other side never has to fully perform.
I don't, and that's so frustrating. I mean, I don't understand how this is even happening. It seems completely illegal to me. But I'm just a normal homeowner. I'm just a normal Floridian. So all of this stuff that's being said to me from the conversation we had yesterday, the conversations I've had with Brooke, is that it seems that what's happening to us right now should be impossible, but it's not.
That's exactly right. And the sad part is it's going to get worse. There are other bills circulating right now, and I don't know what to say, but it's not going to be good. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen in March, because there are further reforms coming.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in today, Stephen. I'm going to get all of your information. I'm actually going to post it when the video is posted. And again, like I said, we really want to do everything that we can to try to help. So I think really what the answer is what can people do to help? So I'm going to get that information from you. I'm going to get that information from Brooke, and we're going to do what we can. Let's see what we can do to help.
All right. Sounds good to me. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. All right. So that by far is the most call-ins I've ever done on a radio show.
That was pretty impressive, actually. So I want to ask Brooke a question quick. Oh, can I? May I? Because it's about this and it's been bothering me. Does this seem like the idea is for people to not want to sue to get their money? Is that really it? The cap and all that? Is that what's going on? They just are forcing the homeowners to just say, well, great.
Right. They're making it so that they can't really sue in a lot of circumstances. If their damages are going to be less, Stephen said less than $100,000, it may be less than $75,000. But unless you have a really significant, expensive claim, attorneys won't take your case because they don't have the opportunity to be paid for those fees if the case goes long term. They're going to take a third, but a third of $20,000.
It's not going to be worth their time, right?
Right. They can't litigate it for the years that it will take because now the insurance companies want to drag it out. And so they won't take the case. So you're just going to have no recourse if you have a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 claim.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for answering that. Angela, back to your show.
No, actually, that's a really good question because I think that lots of what's happening here is that there's just a great disconnect between what's happening, like everything from the attorneys to the contractors to everything that's on this side, and then you've got Floridians, right? You've got the homeowners, and there's this huge disconnect on information.
Well, it just seems like all of the movements are all just supporting the insurance side, and that it doesn't feel like there's any voice for the policyholders.
Well, and Brooke, you can answer this question too. But when I talk to people, they're like, "Oh, well, we've given money to this, and we've given money to this, and we've given money to lobbyists, and we've done this." But what does all that really do? Does it really make a difference? Oh, does that mean we're coming to the end of the show, huh?
No, we've got one more segment.
Oh, yay!
So
okay.
Brooke can answer that question, and also that whole 20% and the local insurance for Florida question. Maybe that has to do with it too. Oh, yeah. There's so much coming up. It's BaaD Radio. Stand by. Angela, Melissa, and Brooke will be right back.
So what were you saying about the 20%?
If there's an insurance, what's the name of our crap insurance for the state? I forget.
Citizens.
Is it Citizens?
FIGA? Citizens?
No, it must be Citizens.
I don't want to name drop any
no,
company.
you don't have to.
Okay.
There's one that you can get, but if there's another company that offers you a rate that's less than 20% more than the state crap insurance, and you have to take it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Are you not
I
familiar
don't
with
know that one either.
Yeah, your home and property insurance. They want to get everybody off of Citizens, I guess is what it's called.
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
they're trying to get, because
She does know.
Well, I know that when insurance companies started leaving Florida, a lot of policyholders had no option other than to go with Citizens.
Right.
And then Citizens got overwhelmed with too many policies. And so they start trying to make ways to get those policies out with other private insurers. But I didn't know I didn't know that specific.
Yeah, I think it's 20%. Because when I was doing, I do news here.
Mhm.
And that was one of the things that really caught me is that they're forcing people to leave Citizens if there's an offer from another insurance company in this state that's less than 20% more than they're already paying.
That I don't totally understand. So did Steven tell you he needed to go?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, he was what you were hearing in the background was
Uh-huh.
him cutting his phone off for a second and talking to people in the background.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's why I said I was like he's like I'll be no. And it went like 3 different times. I caught it, so I was like, I best let you know.
I appreciate that. But yeah, you can tell me over here, like, I don't know what you mean.
Apparently, I said Siri. Stop. Okay, stop.
What is that?
Siri.
She wants to be in the conversation.
I don't believe I said that word, but anyway.
I don't mind if you tell me in my ear, like, how much time that we have. Did I totally mess you up by going to break too soon?
Yeah, a couple of times. But no, you're all caught back up again.
Okay, excellent.
You have 10 minutes.
Hang on 1 second.
No more, no less. Can you not?
Like the side of her face.
Oh, but I do that because there's a reflection from my lights that bothers the other camera. Because we're double paned. So, were you trying to get a picture of me at one
I
point?
was trying because you guys were talking and
Right.
she was looking this way, and I was like, let me see if I can get a shot. The reflection
The
is
reflection's
so bad.
I mean, I can turn the light on if you want one for a different point or whatever, but yeah, no, I figured that was what's going on. Come on, beautiful. You look great. Your hair's gorgeous. Okay.
She says your hair is gorgeous.
Just the right amount of curl. Hey, I want to talk to you about being on another radio station in Melbourne, maybe. Do you think you can afford it?
I don't know. Depends on how much it costs.
Probably not too much. More
Maybe.
than what crap you're paying here. Yeah, buddy. Okay. All right. But yeah, no, there's a Melbourne station I think that you could probably involve that is interested.
Okay. I'd love to hear about it.
Okay, good. All right, stand by.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And we are back for the last segment of BaaD Radio. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. And also a huge thank you to our sponsor, Boltz Legal. Fear no storm, BoltzLegal.com. 33 tanning spa with locations in Altamont Springs and Longwood. Andrews Law PA, auto accident attorney. Contact Andrews Law PA today at andrewslawpa.com. And Crazy Muscle Nutrition in Longwood. All right, so actually I'm excited just to have Brooke right here, no callers or anything like that, because I have lots of questions. And I really feel that the biggest missing piece right here is what can be done. I mean, I feel, and I know you feel this too, and I know that Steven feels that. I know that that's kind of the general consensus. But in your mind, what can be done?
Well, with regard to the homeowners insurance bill, it passed already. So
Right.
it is current law. However, no law can't be changed by the legislatures in the same way that it was initially enacted. So I think it is still important that people's voices are heard and that you contact your legislators so that when the time comes, we can change the law to be more favorable to the policyholders.
And is that something that's feasible as long as there's enough voices and enough people supporting this?
I think so. I think it is. And I'm a member of a board that, fights for policyholders in this regard. And I know we are strategizing on the right time and opportunity to revisit this issue again with the legislators. And so, people reaching out and letting their voice be heard in the interim period is going to open those ears again from the legislators to be willing to revise things.
How often does the legislation meet? And I mean, like, I know that this one got passed, in December, that went into effect January 1st. And then the House bill that we were talking about earlier is going to be voted on in March. So what is that, a 4-month time frame?
Well, what's been happening in Florida is they've been calling special sessions.
Is that what this is in March?
I don't believe so. I believe March is the actual session that was always scheduled, but they've been calling a number of special sessions throughout last year that were each targeted at insurance reform. And so the last bill in December passed, it was initiated and passed in like 1 week.
How is that even possible? Does that mean even have time to react to that?
There was not much time. I mean, I had colleagues who were dropping everything and driving to Tallahassee and doing everything that could be done in that 1 week. But my recollection is that the bill was initiated on like a Friday. They discussed it on like a Monday, and I think they voted to pass it on Tuesday, and the governor signed it into law on Friday.
How long does it usually take? Like, what's a usual, like, average?
The legislative session is, I think it's a month or so.
Okay.
When because it has to originally go through committees. Like when we were talking about the House bill 837, that's just starting in a committee this week. And then once it passes the first committee, then it goes to another committee, and there's a whole process. But when they call a special session, things can be much more expedited.
Yeah, and I want to talk about Boltz Legal because I had a conversation with you last week, and when I got off the phone, I could feel it. And you talked about your upbringing. You talked about what you did to get to where you are today, and what this overall looks to Boltz Legal, if you don't mind.
Sure. So, yeah, and you talked about my upbringing. I come from a family of pastors and worship leaders. Nothing legal related. The closest thing to a legal related family member I have is my mom is a legal assistant, and she has been for all my life, and she currently is my legal assistant. So, but worship leaders and pastors is my background. And so for myself, I was interested in the legal profession and wanted not only to become a lawyer, but to have my own business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also started my own firm about 5 years ago. And if anyone who started a business knows that it's hard work, and each year you learn from the things that have happened the year before, and each year you hope to grow from year to year as you get more clients, and word starts to get out about your business.
Yeah, well, we talked about your starting. We talked about your desk in the closet, and I know how much work you put into it.
Yeah, I had very humble beginnings, and but I worked hard to get to the place that I am now, and homeowners insurance cases has been a major part of my practice. And so when this law passed that eliminated attorney's fees, it of course affected the policyholders in the way that we spoke about, but it also very much affects my livelihood and my ability to maintain my business.
It's your livelihood, it's your business, it's your money, it's your family. It's very personal.
And like how Melissa said, it's kind of discourages people to even reach out to you, right?
Right. I've had a number of calls with prospective clients since this bill passed that have said, is it even worth it to me? If I'm only going to get 50% or whatever percentage it may end up being at the end, I don't know if it's even worth it for me to go through the hassle and the time that it takes.
So people are paying their homeowners claims, and they're deterred from getting their money, what they deserve. So insurance companies collect the dues, but then they're not paying policies out because they're scaring people from filing.
Right. And I've been surprised because of how severe Hurricane Ian was. I expected insurance companies to be paying those losses fairly. And
I haven't seen one.
And what I'm seeing and what I've heard is that by and large claims are being either denied or very low payouts are being made. And so it's just an example, and I hope that the policyholders who are experiencing that remember this, because having not having the opportunity when you are the recipient of a wrongful denial on your claim and you have no recourse because a lawyer won't take your case because there's not enough money for them to be paid.
Yeah.
Or and that's your only possible recourse would have been to pursue legal action, then you ask yourself, what am I paying for insurance for? And you feel, David against Goliath again, which is what the statute was intended to prevent. It's you against insurance company, and you have no legal representation or ability to fight back when they deny your claim.
Well, like I said, I'm ready to start a movement. I don't know about you. You want
Yeah, I know. We're starting here.
We got to start somewhere, right?
And don't you? And there are laws where you have to have insurance on certain things, right? On your house and stuff.
If
so
you
it's
have a
not
mortgage, you
it's-
have to have insurance.
So it's not even like you can just say, well, it's not worth it. Like, why am I even doing this? Let's just not have insurance, and then I don't have to pay the monthly. You still have to pay the monthly.
You have to, right? If you have a mortgage,
Yeah.
you
But
have
you
to
also have to think about being in the state of Florida. We have hurricanes.
Regularly.
Yeah, I don't have the money to replace my roof right now. I would have to take a loan out in order. Like I said, if that happened to me right now, if Ian happened again and my roof got ripped off and my policy would not cover it, then yeah, you know what? I'm having to take out a loan. I'm having to pay for, use my kids' college fund.
Sorry, Anna.
I know. Sorry, babe. Yeah. So you guys, we're actually coming up to like a minute on the show. So Brooke, let everybody know. I'm going to post some stuff for what people can do, but you do feel strongly that we can still make a change, right?
Absolutely.
And so let everybody know how to get in touch with you.
My website is boltzlegal.com. That's BOLTZ legal.com. And email is a great way. It's Brooke Boltz at boltzlegal.com, BROOKE BOLTZ @boltzlegal.com.
And Melissa, how can everybody get in touch with you?
I am at strikingbrand.com and Striking Brand on all social media platforms.
All right, and I'm Angela Smarito, and you can reach me at baadradio.com. That's BAAD radio.com. Thank you for tuning in today. I know that we had a pretty serious show here, but you know what? You're probably going to hear more about it. So it's a good thing you heard it first here on BaaD Radio.
You've been listening to BaaD Radio. Go to BaaDradio.com to be a part of the fun. It was fun, right?
I still have a lot of work to do. I mean, as far as negotiating time and going to breaks, and this is hard. It's not easy. Well, you guys don't, but she talks to me in my ears, and so our first caller, she was talking and talking, and she's going, "You've got 1 minute left," and so you know what I mean. I'm trying to find the right place to say, "Okay, hold that thought," and then I'm conscientious that there's somebody on hold. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot to do it. But Melissa, can you hear me? I appreciate all of your input. I really, really do.
Okay, because I thought maybe I overstepped some unwritten boundary today. I was like, oh, did I do it again?
So I've only been doing it for a year, and that's probably the most serious show that I've ever done before by a long shot. And those are definitely probably the highest profile callers that I've ever had on the show. So hopefully